So it seems like Mexico has rejected a military deportation flight heading inbound because pretty much the deportees weren't Mexican. We'll discuss it right now. Welcome to Global Reference News Inside America. My name is Gerald Cobra reporting. Mexico has recently rejected a deportation military flight. So as it seems, the people on board weren't Mexican. I think they were Guatemalan. And Mexico is pretty much saying we're not going to be a dumping ground for everybody else who's getting kicked out of the United States. Let's look at this news clip to get more in-depth information about it.
Mexico refuses U.S. military flight deporting migrants. Sources say Mexico has turned down a request from President Donald Trump's administration to allow a U.S. military aircraft carrying deported migrants to land in the country, according to officials from both nations. On Friday, U.S. military aircraft completed two similar flights to Guatemala, each transporting around 80 migrants. However, plans for a U.S. C-17 transport aircraft to land in Mexico were halted after the country denied permission. Both U.S. and Mexican officials confirmed the decision, which was first reported by NBC News. In a statement later that day, Mexico's foreign ministry described its relationship with the U.S. as strong, emphasizing cooperation on immigration issues. The ministry added, "We will always welcome Mexican nationals returning to our country with open arms." However, no explanation was given for refusing the aircraft landing request. Earlier this week, the Trump administration announced the relaunch of its Remain in Mexico policy, which requires non-Mexican asylum seekers to stay in Mexico while their U.S. cases are processed. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum clarified that her country hadn't agreed to such measures, saying mass deportations and forced returns were not supported. Meanwhile, U.S.-Mexico relations remain tense. Trump recently declared a national emergency along the border, ordered 1,500 additional troops to the area, and even renamed the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. He is also threatening to impose a 25% duty on Mexican goods starting next month. The Pentagon has stepped in using military aircraft to deport migrants as part of Trump's emergency measures. A U.S. official noted that this marks the first time in recent memory military planes have been used for such deportations. While Guatemala accepted another deportation flight on Friday, Mexico's decision highlights ongoing tensions between the two nations.
So it seems like Mexico is putting their foot down when it comes to this whole deportation crisis. Donald Trump has made threats of tariffs, saying that if Mexico doesn't play ball, they can expect their tariffs to jump by 25%. Now, could this be dangerous to the Mexican economy? It could be. It could be very, very detrimental if Mexico doesn't play ball. However, Mexico is a sovereign nation. They do have a right to reject people who are not citizens, just as we here in America have a right to reject people who aren't citizens here as well. So we'll definitely have to see how that turns out in the time to come. But even more recently, what's even another interesting development is Donald Trump has just sent 1,500 military soldiers to the border. This could be a real game changer as far as, people coming over the border and sneaking in. Let's get some more in-depth information on that with this clip.
We turn now to the latest on President Trump. He ordered 1,500 troops to the southern border. The White House says the president is fulfilling his campaign promises on immigration. Senior political correspondent Rachel Scott is tracking the latest. Good morning, Rachel.
Rebecca, good morning to you. President Donald Trump has already declared a national emergency at our southern border. Now he's sending 1,500 troops there, and a senior administration official tells us this is only the beginning. This morning, the first 1,500 U.S. troops are arriving at the southern border as President Donald Trump launches his long-promised crackdown on immigration. The active duty Army soldiers and Marines deployed to address what Trump declared is a national emergency. The Pentagon says the troops include military police units, combat engineers, and intelligence specialists who will aid with detection and monitoring. The military will also help construct new barriers along the border and provide air power for deportations. A senior defense official saying, "This is just the start. We are anticipating many further missions."
President Trump is sending a very strong message to people around this world. If you are thinking about breaking the laws of the United States of America, you will be returned home, you will be arrested, you will be prosecuted. Do not come.
While the troops will be armed for their safety, the Pentagon says they will not participate in law enforcement. Border Patrol will remain in charge. There has been a drop in apprehensions after former President Joe Biden implemented new asylum restrictions last spring. Encounters now down 60%. Some local officials say the troops are unnecessary.
We don't need troops along our border here because it's very safe.
But immigration was a top issue in the 2024 election and a cornerstone of the president's campaign. In his first Oval Office interview with Fox News, Trump called the flow of migrants at the southern border a gross miscarriage of common sense.
Who would ask for open borders with people pouring in, some of whom, I won't get into it, but you can look at them and you can say, could be trouble. Could be trouble.
The administration also canceling all previously scheduled travel for refugees to the U.S. Approximately 10,000 refugees already had their travel booked. The president of Global Refugee criticizing the decision, saying some refugees were just hours away from a new life. And this morning, an immigrant detention bill is now headed to the president's desk. The Lake and Riley Act passing with some bipartisan support, marking the first piece of legislation President Donald Trump could sign into law. The bill, named for the 22-year-old Georgia nursing student killed by an undocumented migrant, requires ICE to detain undocumented migrants accused of theft and violent crimes. The bill would be costly to enforce. ICE estimates it would cost close to $27 billion in the first year alone.
So this is what it looks like so far. It looks like things on the border are really, really heating up. On the U.S. side and the Mexican side, it's definitely going to be a will of might from both leaders. Hopefully America and Mexico can manage to work things out so each other doesn't play this back and forth of tariffs here, tariffs there. Because Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum did say previously that tariffs do go both ways, which could definitely affect both economies on both sides of the border. This is Global Reference News inside of America. Follow us at www.globalreferencenews.com for more interesting stories, not only here in the U.S., but around the world.